Kim is a health and fitness coach who helps women over 40 feel fit, comfortable and confident in their bodies. Our chat was another one of my favourite interviews. This one is so good, it's worth listening to at least twice. It was originally published back in 2019. You're listening to Menopause Natural Solutions. This is episode 175, Fit and Fabulous After 40 with Kim Barnes Jefferson. Welcome to Menopause Natural Solutions, your podcast for all things perimenopause, menopause and beyond. Stay tuned as your host, naturopath Jennifer Harrington, explains how to use natural therapies to find your ultimate health and happiness during your transition. Welcome, Kim.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on the show.
So let's jump straight in. Where do you normally start with your clients?
The very first thing I always tell my clients is that no one, wakes up and they look like Beyonce. If you do, please share that on socials with us.
Well, if you are, you're probably Beyonce.
Right, exactly. We all start somewhere. And I'm sure even Beyonce will poke and prod at something on her that she's not happy about.
Yeah. Yep. So what, if somebody wants to get started, they've accepted that I don't like this reality, I want a different reality. How do they start that process?
So the first thing I always say is you have to start with your why. You have to get connected to why you want to lose the weight. Did a doctor tell you that you're going to come off meds if you lose 5 pounds? Did a doctor tell you that if you don't lose weight, you're going to be, diabetic? Do you want to fit into a different size pants? Are you going on vacation? What's the reason why you want to start exercising?
Oh, I love that. Yes. And that's not just your physical shape. It's why you want to do anything. Like, why do you want to have more energy? Why do you want to, spring out of bed in the morning excited to start your day? And, for some women, it's also just so that they can run around with their grandkids, or that they,
right.
Or it could just be like, this is my favorite dress and I can't do it up anymore. So,
exactly.
And different levels of motivations depending on what their why is. And they might have multiple whys.
Oh, absolutely. And your why doesn't have to be altruistic. It doesn't have to be like, well, if I have more energy, I'll be a better employee. No, you could be like, I just want to be freaking hot. Like that is your why. And you're going to feel so connected to it. And, for those of you who live in places, I live in Boston, and we're probably about a month and a half away from it being really cold here and snowy. And I work out in the morning. And if my why wasn't strong enough, do you think my tushy would be getting myself out of bed on a cold, snowy morning? No.
Good point.
So, you think about it for the listeners, like think about it, like your why is your why. You don't have to tell anybody. It just is what is your why is what you lean. When people tell me they don't have motivation, I'm like, that's your why. Like when you lay in bed and the alarm goes off and it's cold, it's dark and you don't want to go, you think about your why. And you think about the dress you want to zip up. You think about the vacation you want to go on, and you want to, rock a little bikini, or, think about having the energy to chase your kids around. Whatever it is, that's what you have to think about.
And if your why is strong enough, you'll set yourself up for success. So things like getting your clothes out the night before.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm just going to jump up, I'm going to put my workout gear on, and off I go.
Yeah. And one of my clients, she was just getting started in the morning. She slept in them. I was like, let's go for it. Like whatever you got to do.
Yes, absolutely. Don't know if I will do that, but it worked for her. That's great.
Right. I'm like, hey, works for you. Rock on with your bad self.
Yeah.
The other thing I always tell people is like, you have to commit, right? You have to, it's all about self-mastery versus half-assery.
I haven't heard that said like that before, but I love it.
Well, I don't know if any of your listeners or you have ever watched The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And you know how Homer works at a nuclear power plant, and they were giving a tour of the nuclear power plant, and the owner of the power plant, Mr. Burns, is like, here at the power plant, we use our whole ass. We don't half-ass it around here.
I haven't seen that episode, but yeah, okay.
But ever since then, I was like, you're right, because you only hear about people half-assing stuff. You don't hear people saying, I use my whole ass.
Yep.
So anyway, that's my random humor. I apologize for that. But you have to commit, and like you have to go all in. And what that means is, instead of saying, yeah, I'm going to work out. Well, when are you going to work out? What are you going to do? You know, are you going to boot camp? Are you going to Zumba? Are you doing yoga? Like, what is it? So that way, you know, it's kind of starting to like register in your brain.
I find it's about making actual appointments in your calendar that are non-negotiable. Just saying, this is my workout time, putting it in, and it actually being a priority, because other things will come up in your life all the time. And if it's one of those things that doesn't even make it to your calendar, you're not going to do it. And I don't want you bumping it off because something else has come up. It's too important.
I tell my clients to treat like I am 100% put in my calendar. I sit down at the beginning of the week and I map out my week and I just put it in my calendar and I treat it like an appointment. So if you have a dentist appointment and you don't show up for your dentist appointment, most dentists will charge you, you know, if it's not the full cost of the appointment, but enough that it kind of hurts. Yeah. So I always say to people, you know, treat your workout just like you would that dentist appointment.
Definitely. And I also think that it's interesting. It will be beneficial to have a look at what you enjoy.
Yes, because absolutely.
So for me, I've started salsa dancing and I love it. And there's nothing that you can offer me on a Wednesday night that I will pick over my salsa dancing. And so if it's something like that you're passionate about and you love, you're going to go and do it regardless. And it could be that you like working out on your own, or that you like working out in groups. So it's about, I guess, finding what excites you. What do you tell women to do?
Exactly what you said. Like I say, like you have to find something that you're going to look forward to. Because if, you know, Jen says to you, I like salsa dance, you're like, I got 2 left feet. Well, then you're not going to salsa dance. But maybe you like yoga. Maybe you do like CrossFit. Maybe you like going for a walk. You know, I always say pick one thing. And even if it's not the best thing, something is better than nothing.
Yes.
And I recently started to fall in love with walking. If you would have told me that about 5 years ago, I would have rolled my eyes at you. But walking for me, especially for those women who are over 40 and you might be in that menopausal soup right now, walking in nature is one of the best ways to lower your stress levels. It just makes you just take that deep breath. It just makes you get in touch with yourself, and
it's also my meditation. So I live on a beautiful bay, and going for my walks, it's my second favorite exercise after salsa, is going for a walk around the bay and just breathing and taking an opportunity to sit there and watch the waves and to watch the birds and the ducks and the wildlife. Oh, I love it. And I notice my moods aren't as fantastic if I can't get out. If something's happened, I'm like, oh, it's pouring with rain or something's come up.
I'm the same way. This morning I had an appointment and I was trying to figure out, like, could I squeeze it in and still be on time for the appointment? And I couldn't do it. And I've been off all day.
Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes it does help to have actual classes where there's times that you dedicate. Walking's still great, but it's finding a way. So it might even be having a friend that commits to walking at the same time. That way you make sure you do it.
Right. I'm like, you're sneaking on my notes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. But, or make it a family thing, you know. if you have kids, make it something that you guys do as a family. My husband and I, we have our Monday night or a Monday morning spin class. It's something we've been doing together for the last 5 years. And it's just, a thing we do together, but it also helps both of us to stay committed to working out. Because, some Monday mornings you're like, oh.
And they do say families that play together stay together.
Yeah. And also, for your kids, it shows them that being active is something that you just do, that they don't, maybe later in their life, it's not a chore. They're just so used to always being active, and that's what they saw you do. So hopefully that's something that they just start to do.
Yeah, it's like breathing.
Yeah.
It's not an option.
Right, exactly. Maybe if you start eating Brussels sprouts, they'll start eating Brussels sprouts. I don't know. Maybe I'm making a leap there.
Well, there's always different ways of cooking it. So, if you don't like it one certain way, cook it a different way.
Yeah.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought because my crazy daughter eats Brussels sprouts raw. It's gross.
Oh my God. I love me a Brussels sprout, but I don't know if I could do it raw.
No, she had a friend try it and her friend vomited. But I've just gone down a different thought because, sorry, you brought all those thoughts up. But anyway, so eat your veggies any way you like them. As long as you're eating them, it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. And you talked about classes, I had during my coaching program, we talked about rewards and punishment, and those are two strong motivators for people.
Yeah.
And so you have to decide what's motivating for you. So you have your why, but also are you someone who is motivated by the rewards, or are you motivated by the punishment? And let me just clarify what I mean. So I had a client who she desperately wanted to get to the gym, and she always kept blowing it off. Work was, crazy, so she couldn't go. So I said, okay, I go, what is an amount of money that is like painful for you? And she's like, $50. I'm like, okay. So I said, every time you don't go to the gym, I want you to just take $50 and hand it to the first homeless person you see. Just give it away. Because that's what you missing a workout will do. You're just going to give it to the first homeless person you see on the street. So always have $50 in your wallet so you can give it away. Ouch. After the first few times of just handing over money, she started getting herself more into the rhythm of going to the gym.
Yes, that would motivate most people.
Right. So if it's not like handing $50 to a homeless person, we have classes here that you have to pre-sign up for, and you have to cancel, my spin class, I had to cancel by 4 p.m. the night before I want to go. So I go at 6:30 in the morning. So by 4 p.m. on Sunday, if I don't cancel, I'm paying, even if I'm not sitting on that bike.
Yeah. Well, that's great. It's good business sense, but it's also good motivation.
Right. So, those kind of things, do that motivate you? Right. So then the second thing is the reward. So I have some people who are very reward oriented. So they will do little like gold stars on their calendar. So every time that they go to the gym, if they hit all the days that they said they were going to go to the gym, at the end of the month, they might reward themselves with, a new workout outfit, or, downloading some new music, or going to a movie, or, just doing something that is like fun, but as a way of saying, because I, hit all of my workout goals, this is my reward for myself. So you decide, like, where do you fall?
So with my Facebook group, it's probably going back a couple of months now, I was talking about your old favorite clothes. So I had this black cocktail dress that I absolutely loved, and that I put it on and I noticed, the zipper doesn't do up anymore. I've put on weight that I hadn't realized I'd put on weight. So I went, you know what, I'm going to make myself accountable, and I'm going to show it to the group. So I went, look, guys, zipper doesn't do up anymore. This is what I'm going to do. And each week I took a photo and put it on the group, and they could see that eventually it did up. So for me, my reward was being able to wear my favorite dress again.
Right, exactly. And and just like we talked about the why, it could be anything. It could be anything. Some people love movies, or maybe you're like, I'm going to reward myself with like a day of binging TV and not feeling guilty.
That's a favorite of yours, isn't it?
It is. It is. I got to tell you, I've recently started binging Downton Abbey.
Have you seen the movie?
Well, so everyone talked about the show for years, and I was like, not my jam. I don't do historical. So then I was like, well, let me just peek it. And I was like, oh, I get it now. So I'm just starting. I'm at like season 5 of the first season. So by the time I get through all of it, the movie will probably be on Amazon.
Well, I haven't started. So I was thinking if I go see the movie and I love the movie, that might be the motivation to come back and watch the seasons.
You're going to like it. Because I wasn't a historical fiction kind of girl, but you'll like it.
I'm just not a TV girl. I much prefer to go for a walk around the bay or to be out there salsa dancing and connecting with people. But, you've got to look at your own interests, and that could be one of your rewards. It might be, okay, I have gone to my workout today. Maybe for every hour of workout, you give yourself an hour of TV.
It wasn't until like the whole binging thing did I become a TV person.
Yes, Netflix has got a lot to answer for.
Yes, because I didn't really like the you have to remember on Tuesday at 10 o'clock this show comes on. That was too much memory. Now that I can just sit and watch a season in like a short amount of time, I'm in love.
Okay. All right, so back to our topic of feeling confident and comfortable and just really loving the skin that we're in.
Right.
Is there anything else that you would suggest?
So the other piece is courage. And you're probably like, courage? The courage.
No, I get it.
The courage is one. We've all been down that rabbit hole of fad diets. We've lost the weight. The weight came back, brought 20 friends. We've all been down the road. And I, first of all, just look at yourself, forgive yourself, because you're not alone. We've all fell for some diet scam out there. And we could probably have a whole conversation of what's the silliest thing you've ever done for weight loss.
And it's probably many, because they're yo-yos. It's not just one thing you try. It's 2 and 3 and 4 and
right.
Vicious cycle.
It's and it's you now you can hopefully look back and laugh, but have the courage to do something different. And the first thing I was really challenged by was probably about 5 years ago. I was, working through some health issues, and I was asked to go vegan for a year. That was like someone let the air out of the room. And it was very different. It was something I didn't ever think I would ever be able to do. But I had to have the courage to do something different if I wanted a different outcome.
Yep. Because doing the same thing gets you the same results.
Right. And so I want you to think about, and this is where tracking comes in. And I know tracking sucks, but, track your food, track how it makes you feel. Track, do you feel bloated? Do you feel gassy? Do you feel tired? Because those are symptoms. And those symptoms are telling you whatever you're eating isn't working for you.
Definitely. And
so have the courage to, 1, track, and then 2, make a change. And now when I say changes, I'm not that person who's like, throw it all away, just get rid of everything and have no fun. I want you to think about small changes, because those are more sustainable than, you see on weight loss shows where the weight loss coach comes in and opens the cupboards and throws out all the chips and the cookies and all this other stuff, and they're crying in the corner. I don't want that for you. I want you to, gradually figure out what isn't working for you. Because I know there's what you're eating. There's something that you're holding on to for dear life. Just pick something. Have the courage to just do one thing different.
And can I suggest that you also look at water? I find that so many women are dehydrated, and I don't know whether they're aware, but dehydration reduces your metabolism by 30%. So even if your one thing is just going, okay, I'm not going to take anything out of my diet, I'm going to add things in, and I'm going to add in water, or I'm going to add in some vegetables, or add in a piece of fruit a day.
Yes.
Sometimes it helps to reduce, and sometimes it helps to add in. It all just depends on the different personality of the woman in front of us.
Right. And so if you start by like tracking your food, and you in your mind, you're like, I'm doing everything right. Then exactly what Jen said, then it's like, okay, I'm going to have an extra piece of fruit today, or I'm going to have an extra cup of vegetables with every meal, or I'm going to make sure that every meal I have a glass of water. And so that way, like I never want anyone to feel deprived. And so when you add things in, you don't feel deprived. But if there are things that like, you go for a coffee, do you need the treat with the coffee? So it's like those, I always kind of give my give and takes, but like certain things, like I'm never going to say it's your birthday, don't have cake. Like, come on, it's your birthday, have the cake.
Enjoy it.
Right.
Sorry.
No, because I'm all about consistency. So it's like, what is the path that we can take with the least resistance to get you consistent? Because once you get consistent, once you start to feel good, you're going to look around and be like, do I really need this, or do I really need that? Because, most of us haven't had a lot of wins under our belts. And so the more wins you get under the belt, the more confident you feel, the more you want to start doing stuff. And, as Jen said, if you're taking pictures of yourself, or you're just like, oh, I'm sleeping through the night, my hot flashes aren't there anymore. Like, then you're going to be like, what else can I do?
What blows my mind is the amount of people that come in for appointments. Say they've had the first appointment and I've listed down their symptoms. Maybe there's 20 things that they're concerned about. And they'll come back in the second time and you'll ask them, okay, how's this going? How that's going? They generally have one symptom in their mind. And let's, for example, say hot flushes. It's like my hot flushes are the same. Okay, all right, so we need to do some more work there. What about these other symptoms? And they sit there and the penny drops. Oh, actually, I can't tell you the last time I had a headache. Or, you know what, I'm not constipated anymore. But they forget about a lot of the other symptoms. They've just got one thing that they're thinking of. So if you're only ever thinking about weight loss, then you might not realize that, you know what, my digestive system's working well. And if your digestive system's working well, it's going to be easier for the weight loss to occur in the future. So I do agree with you about tracking, because then you can actually see the full picture. As a naturopath, we always say it starts from the inside out. So we would focus more on digestion than, say, a skin disorder.
Right, because you know that like maybe the digestion is manifesting itself as a skin disorder.
Exactly. So yeah, we want to start at the root cause.
Right. So I love that, because what you just said was, I always say to people, when you have a vision, so it goes back to the why, like you have a vision, like you even if you don't want to allow yourself to visualize what you see your future self as, that's the power. Because that future self, I always ask the question, I tell my clients, you ask the question, like, the answer is never no. The answer is, does it lead you toward your goal, or does it take you away from your goal? And if you always have your goal top of mind, you just ask those two questions and you answer your own question. You don't have to wait for someone to give you permission. You give yourself permission. So if I am at the coffee shop, well, perfect example, this morning, my doctor's appointment got canceled and I had an extra hour. And I was like, I could be pissed because they didn't call me. Or I said, you know what? There's this awesome bagel shop and I never go to it. And I'm like, I'm going to go to this bagel shop. And I said to myself, I'm like, is it ever going to be on my diet? No. But it's right now in the moment, I'm going to have it and I'm going to be okay about it. And there's not going to be any guilt. There's not going to be shame. There's not going to be any blame. It's going to just me sitting in the park because I missed my walk this morning. And this is me taking in nature with my pumpkin bagel.
And what I find is that there are always situations where you fall off the wagon. And it's not about beating yourself up when that happens. It's the women that reach their goal in the end are the women that get back on track straight away. So I'm guessing that after you had your bagel, the rest of your day, you ate fairly well.
Yeah. And it was like, it was in that moment I could have drove right by and, you know, I asked the question, I'm like, is this like a reward? Like, you know, am I using food for something other than what it is? And it wasn't. It was like, I am never here. I never go to this place. Once a year I go when I go to the doctor. And I'm like, you know what? It's nice out. I'm going to sit outside on that bench and I'm just going to enjoy this and I'm going to enjoy the weather because the weather's going to start to turn and I won't have many days I can sit outside. And that was my thought process. And so that's a healthy relationship with food. That's a healthy relationship of knowing that I can have this way off plan, off track sheet, whatever you want to call it, and know that it's not going to turn into the snowball where I'm going to drive down the street and hit the froyo and then drive down the street and hit McDonald's. It was like, it was satiating and satisfying. And I moved on.
And that is the difference. A lot of women do end up going, well, I cheated, so therefore I am going to go to McDonald's and everywhere else. But that's why you have a healthier association because you're able to stop it at one thing.
Right. And I know, like, I for your listeners, I just want you to know, I didn't like magically come to this place. This took some time because I did have those binge eating times of my life, but I got so sick of the cycle, the sick of the beating myself up, the over exercising, under dieting so that I could make up for me being bad. And all it did was just wear on my mental stamina. It just broke me. And so what I want you to think about is everyone is allowed to live. I live in the 80-20. 80% of my life is following the great healthy eating plan. 20% of my life is fun. And if you aren't having 20% fun, you will fall off that wagon so hard all the damn time. Yeah. And look at your past.
There's things that will come up regularly in life. Like you said, birthdays and birthday cakes and possibly anniversaries and weddings and things like that. And one of the things I tell my patients is this isn't a 30-day plan. This is life. And the better you can be in your average day-to-day life, then the odd little occasion where you treat yourself, you shouldn't feel guilty because you know that the vast majority of time you're good. And it's about getting back on that wagon as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. I mean, I always say shit happens. It does, right? You know, but the thing is like what you do the next moment. The best example I can give is you driving in your car and you get a flat tire. You get out and you change that one flat tire. Out of the 4 tires you have, you change that one tire and you go back on your way. Or you call I don't know if you have AAA in America, in Australia, but
we have the NRMA and we have other services that are similar. So yes.
Right. So if you're not handy, I would call AAA because I'm not handy. I would sit there and wait for AAA to come, change my tire, and I'd be on my way. But it's only one tire. So I want you to think about that is one meal out of, if you have 3 meals 7 days a week, that's 21 meals. So 1 out of 21 wasn't the best meal ever. Good God. Like that's a great percentage.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. All right. So to summarize today, we've spoke about exercise and about making it a non-negotiable that goes into your calendar that happens. And if it doesn't happen, then there's some punishment coming your way. And if it does happen, there's potentially some rewards coming your way. We've spoken about what you enjoy. So whether it's something that you do in a group or whether it's something you do by yourself, like a walk. And we've also spoken about food and about having the courage to try something that you haven't done before. Have I missed anything, Kim?
No, you haven't missed a thing.
All right. So, Kim, can you tell my listeners how they find you?
You can find me. I am on Instagram at Kim Jefferson Coach, on Facebook at Kim Jefferson Coach, and my website is fabfitsquad.com. And lastly, I too have a podcast, and it's called Fit Girl Magic.
I love your podcast, just saying. You always interview very interesting people.
Like yourself.
I didn't mean that, but yes, I particularly, my favorite episode, ladies, if you're going through and you're scrolling, you have to listen to the episode that Kim did with Jackie Bird. That is my all-time favorite.
Oh, I adore her. She is just a breath of fresh air.
I've never met her. I hope I do get to meet her one day, but I could listen to you guys for hours. I was so disappointed when the podcast finished. So I jumped online and started stalking Jackie. So, so thank you. Thank you so much for your time today. And women, I hope you've listened, and I hope you are not planning on taking action, but you do take action. And I will see you all next week. Bye. For listening to Menopause Natural Solutions. If you have enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe, like, and share. The information is provided as a guide and is not designed to replace medical advice.